This is the Spritz Girl Mindset podcast, and I'm your host, Courtney Young. If girlhood is a mindset, this is where we practice it out loud and unfiltered. We're healing, we're yapping, and we're doing it with spritzes in hand. Here's your permission slip to be soft, messy, and magnetic as hell. So grab a spritz, grab a seat, no small talk, just the real stuff. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spritz Girl Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Young, and today I am here with a really awesome guest. You might know her on Threads or on Instagram as Auntie Spoonie, but her real name is Wendy, and I am so excited to get to connect with her today. So, Wendy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Can you share a little bit of who you are outside of the internet with my audience? Who was Wendy before Auntie Spoonie?
The internet. I'm a mom, an aunt, a girlfriend, but I'm also just Wendy, the girl who's been through more plot twists than a Netflix uh, true crime documentary series. And somehow I still laugh at the weirdest moments.
My gosh. Yeah, I love how vulnerable and open you are with all of your followers, particularly on Threads. And as somebody who also navigates chronic illness, I have an ADHD diagnosis. I'm also, I have PCOS, which is one of those unseen illnesses. So I just want to
Absolutely.
commend you. I love how vulnerable and open you are with your audience and how much you're willing to share. How did storytelling first become part of your life?
At first, Courtney, it was survival. When you grow up having to convince people, especially doctors, and
Yeah.
listen, I realized words could be a bridge between my world and someone else's. I'll
Yeah. For those of you who have listened to previous episodes of the show, her name was Allie and she has an endometriosis diagnosis. And we just had this conversation about doctors. And sometimes it can be so hard to advocate for yourself when you have these experts that it feels like they don't actually genuinely understand or want to understand what's really going on. And most of the time, like you know you better than anyone else knows you. So you should speak up for yourself, but it can be so debilitating to have somebody and constantly feeling invalidated. So I totally see how it might have been survival. And now, like you said, you've kind of turned that into that humor element, that self expression element. What's that been like for you?
So, I mean, I started laughing at the hard stuff because if you can't laugh at the hard stuff, what 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 are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can't just cry all the time. So, it gives it a little bit more life so that you're not just depressed all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to take those hard things and make them a little lighter so that we can actually cope.
Yeah.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. No, I love that you shared that because one, let's be honest, like sometimes we are in a place where we do need to cope and we need to make things lighter and we need to make the best of any situation. And something I say a lot on this podcast is I really hate the phrase like everything happens for a reason. You didn't become chronically ill. You didn't, get your diagnosis for a reason or a purpose. There was no reason behind that. And it's bullshit that it did happen to you. But I am a big believer that anything can be redeemed for good, right? So think about the audience that you've been able to impact because of your story and your willingness to be open. That's not something that you see every day, even in people who don't have these things happening to them. So it's not to, say, like, that should have happened because I don't think that's true. I think it would
Yeah.
completely invalidate your experience if we were to say that. But I do think that because of who you are and because of the light that shines through, whether that's through your humor or the way that you share your story, like you are making a difference and you are impacting on people. And that is something to be like really, really proud of. And I know that that's something that, is really important to you. So I love that you said that. And I really appreciate you sharing that. So when you think back to like your girlhood, right? So we all grow up like a certain way or like have these different friend groups and all of these fun things. I don't know if the word different resonates with you. I know it's a word that resonated with me growing up, so that's the word I'm gonna
For
use.
sure.
How did being, like, different, quote, unquote, shape your experience of belonging? What was that like for you?
My girlhood was definitely not the movie montage with the cute music and the hair flip,
Yeah,
autism, ADHD, chronic illness. I was always on the outside looking in. I learned to blend just enough to pass. Belonging came in these rare pockets where I would just drop the act.
yeah.
It taught me that most people don't get it until they're older, but belonging isn't about getting it invited. It's about building your own damn table and picking who gets the good chairs.
I love that. Belonging is about picking your own table and picking building your own table and picking who gets the good chairs. I love that. What do you mean, like, what do you mean by that? Like, say more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're different than everyone else, you're going to have to find your people. And you're not going to be for everybody, and not everybody's going to be for you.
Right.
And that's so important to remember.
I love that. I've never heard that before, and I'm feeling, like, very inspired by it, like, because it's so true, right? Like, we get to decide who we allow into our life, who we give our energy to, who we choose to invite to be with us. You're so right. Like, you're not going to be for everybody. Like, you're an entree. Like, this isn't a buffet. Like, you can't, if you're for everybody, you're mediocre. Like, it's just not possible. And not
Yeah,
only that, but you're just a watered down version of yourself trying to be like everybody else. And we have to be willing to face that rejection and to sit in that discomfort just a little bit to find who our real people are. And then, yeah, give them the good chairs. Choose who you confide in, choose who you show up for. Like, it doesn't have to be for the whole world or for everybody. Like, what matters is how you're showing up for yourself. I really love that phrase. And so, I guess, like, along those lines, what would you go back and say to your younger self who was navigating that need to like belong or navigating illness or difference or medical gaslighting? Like, what would you say to younger Wendy?
you're not making it up. It's
Mm,
real. You're not too much, and you're definitely not broken. Your body's telling you the truth, even if no one else listens. And you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Save your energy for the ones who believe you the first time. And you're going to turn all this chaos into something that makes people feel safe and seen. And you're going to be really good at it.
period. Yes, ma'am. I love that. Believe yourself the first time. I think so many times in this world, for so many different reasons, right? We're taught to tone ourselves down, to make ourselves less than, to listen to the voices of other people before we ever listen to our own voice. Again, we touched on this a little bit when talking about doctors. But even just in our everyday, normal, day-to-day conversations, I don't know about you, but for me, I found it was so much easier to listen to the voices of everybody else, and that led to this narrative that I couldn't trust myself for such a long time, and I found that when I was able to step into my power and start taking ownership of my story and start believing myself, sure, some people left and the narrative became, "Oh, well, you changed and you look different, and we don't wanna deal with that." But I have never felt more confident in who my people are and what my voice means and what I stand for. And it started with leaning into that idea that, like, yeah, you might get rejected. Again, you're not for everybody. You
Yeah,
can't be for everybody, but your voice matters just as much as everybody else's does.
absolutely, Courtney.
Yeah. Do you feel like your story of girlhood or your story, like how you grew up, everything like that, do you feel like it's been erased from that narrative, that cultural narrative that we, kind of grow up around based on like neurotypical versus neurodivergent kind of people? I know there can be those lines kind of drawn in the sand. And if so, how do you reclaim that for yourself now?
Yeah, Courtney. Parts of it were erased. Illness, trauma, people telling my story for me. I didn't get a carefree version,
Yeah.
but I'm not chasing the girlhood I was supposed to have. I'm building the one I deserve.
Yeah.
And I do that by being loud, visible, unapologetic, and creating spaces I needed back then for the girls coming up now. I guess you could say I'm a plot twist in my own coming of age story.
No, I love that, and that's so true, like, again, this ties back to your building the table, like, you have to build that table for yourself because there are so many spaces where so many different types of people, like, look at those norms and they're like, "I don't fit here, I don't belong here," but how are we supposed to have those spaces and create actual genuine, like, belonging if we don't have leaders that will take those steps and will create those things for others? So I love that you're a trailblazer and you're kinda reclaiming that for yourself. What does it mean to you to tell the truth out loud even when people aren't ready to hear it?
So if I'd waited for people to be ready, I'd still be quiet. Their discomfort is their homework, not my problem. Telling the truth plants the seeds. Some sprout overnight, some take years. Some come back to me in the form of a DM saying, "You made me feel less alone."
Yeah.
That's the harvest. And honestly, I'd rather be remembered for saying things that make people think than for keeping the peace.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. And something I say in my group coaching groups all the time is, you're not responsible for other people's feelings. You're responsible for your own actions and for the way you treat others and for your own character, but you're not responsible for how people feel. And so I love that you've leaned into that. And you're so right. Like, their discomfort is not your problem. Like, we have so much of our own, or you specifically have so much of your own discomfort to worry about. Why are you going to worry about the discomfort of others by watering yourself down? You know?
You can't.
Yeah. No, you absolutely can't. Okay. So, next question. How do you balance vulnerability and humor in your storytelling, especially when it's about pain or survival?
Vulnerability gets people to trust you. Humor makes them stick around long enough to hear you out. For me, humor is like a release valve. It keeps the story from getting too heavy to carry. I'll cry with you, sure, but I'll also point out how weird the tissues smell.
Yes.
Yes, if we can laugh and cry in the same conversation, we've built something real.
Yeah. I love that. And I know you said you're a mom earlier. I love that you're providing that example for your children too. That's amazing. I love that. Because both are so true and so necessary. It's so important. And particularly when you are talking about those harder topics, like sometimes it's not easy to be honest about our stories. It's so much easier to just like deflect or like pretend that, what happened to us isn't really happening. But when we can
Yeah.
embrace that story and be vulnerable, but also, balance it with that humor, not for the sake of making people, comfortable, but for the sake of genuinely
No.
like making light of our own story and like claiming it as ours. We're making it our version of
Yeah,
that narrative and not how everybody else views that narrative.
exactly.
I love
Exactly.
that. I love that. So, big pillar on my show and a big pillar with me in general is radical honesty. What do I mean by that?
Love it.
Yes, this is a big thing for me. So radical honesty. So many times we are not honest about the things that we actually want in life. We're not honest about our own stories. We self-minimize, we mask, we deflect. And again, we talked about this earlier, not that masking is always bad or coping is always bad, but we have to have some level of that radical honesty, of that genuine relationship with ourselves in order to be able to connect with the person in front of us, right? Fake it till you make it only goes so far. If you're not making it,
Absolutely.
like if you're not being true to who you are, people are going to see through that and they're not going to be interested in getting to know that or like truly trying to connect with that. So, how would you say, one, I guess, is radical honesty something that, resonates with you? And two, if it is, how has that changed the way that you show up and connect with people both online and offline?
No, I definitely practice radical honesty. That's part of how I make things online. I'm very transparent in what I do. Radical honesty is like the cheapest and most effective filter you'll ever use. And
Yes.
the right ones show up closer and the wrong ones quietly leave the group chat.
Yep. Absolutely. Amen, sis. You have so many good, like, period. Like, I'm going to take so many of these mantras into my week. I am like so here for this. And I hope everybody is taking notes and writing this stuff down because absolutely. Yeah. And, Mel Robbins says it best, if they want to leave the group chat, let them. Like,
Let them.
Let
I say
them.
that all the time. I love it.
Yep, they don't have to sit at your table. They don't have to sit in a comfy chair. They can go sit on the ground at the bottom of the hill somewhere else.
And radical honesty to me also, it means I skip the small talk. We go straight to the good stuff.
Yep.
And I think people will open up way faster when they see you taking your own mask off and just toss it in the bin.
Yeah, I always say I don't do small talk either, and, I do think that is partially a neurodivergent thing. It's just it's not my thing. I'm not gonna sit here and talk with you about
Mine
sports
either.
and the weather, like, I can talk with you about reality TV, but if I'm gonna talk with you about reality TV, it's gonna be because reality TV or Taylor Swift is another great example of mine. Those are hyperfixations, and so we're gonna get into,
Yeah,
like,
special interest.
yeah, we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty. We're gonna talk about every single detail, and I will tell you about every spoiler, and we will talk about, like, the emotions, the psychology behind it. But if you sit here and ask me, like, "It's so hot outside. How are you feeling about da da da?" I'm like, "I don't have time." Like, I have limited brain capacity, I have limited brain space. You can only be friends with so many people. Like, small talk is good in
So
small
true.
doses, but it needs to lead to deeper conversation. If you're only capable of, like,
Absolutely.
having those surface level, like, conversations, that's some
What's the
work that we
point?
need to do. Right. And that's not being honest. It's not being comfortable enough in
Exactly.
your own skin. It's not leaning into your own story, how your own narrative was painted for you, anything like that. It's just deflecting, right? It's hiding. And that's not something that, I want anybody to do, but particularly I don't want to do for myself.
No, me neither.
So, on that note, how have you found or built friendships that truly get it when it does come to that chronic illness, neurodivergence, understanding your own story? What does that look like for you?
So the ones who really get it, they're usually other disabled and neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
And most of those relationships started online, low maintenance, high trust. We don't keep score by how often we talk, but by how safe we feel when we do. Those are the friends you can text and be like, my body's being weird again. And they don't
Yes.
freak out. They're just like, is it the same weird or a new weird?
Yeah. Yeah, our body processes information at the speed of safety, right? That's something a good friend of mine, Erin, always says. Like, you
I
can't
love that.
you can't move any faster if you don't feel safe. If you don't feel safe, then you're not going to be able to connect. So it has to start with safety, and it has to, it can't be tit for tat. It can't be you did this and I didn't do this. It has to start from a place of, like, I trust you. I feel safe with you. I feel connected to you. How do we get there? Again, I believe that's through radical honesty, through owning our story, and through empathy and genuinely being curious about one
Absolutely.
another. But if you don't feel safe, like, how are again, let them. They can go to another table. They can go sit somewhere else. What role does community play for you, not just in surviving, but in experiencing joy as a disabled and neurodivergent woman?
Joy in a disabled body is rebellious. It's the middle finger to everything that tried to break you. Community takes you from I'm hanging on to I'm living. They're the people who hype you up for the stuff that no one else sees, like making it through the day without a pain flare or finally finding a doctor who listens. Those wins feel massive when you share them with your community.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, I love that, and I love that description of it rebel it is the middle finger to all of that stuff that doesn't work out. That's so powerful. If someone is listening to this right now and feels like they don't belong anywhere, what do you think is the first step towards finding their people?
Say one true thing, just one. Post it, tell a friend, mutter it to your cat if you have to, but the right people will echo it back to you.
Mm,
You don't need to find everyone today. Just make yourself findable.
yeah. I love that. And I talk to my dogs all the time. So I love that you said talk to your cat if you need to, because conversations I have with my dogs at home, they hear lots of tea all the time. But
I bet they do.
yeah, one true thing, I love that. I love that so much. How and I mean, I feel like that probably ties into my next question. Like, how did you learn to take up space in that world that tried to shrink you?
Yeah. Well, shrinking didn't keep me safe. It just made me invisible.
Yeah.
So now I take up space like I belong, even on days I'm just still convincing myself I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the whole game, acting like you belong until you realize you actually do.
Yeah. And again, going back to that idea of belonging isn't like trying to fit in, it's building that table. It's building that realm
Absolutely.
for yourself. I love that. That's so powerful. What do you want people to understand about the daily reality of dealing with or living with chronic illness and disability?
It's not just the big emergencies. It's the constant adaptations you're making that nobody sees. The plan Bs, the quiet grief, the creativity. It's hard and beautiful and frustrating and funny, often in the same day. And no, we don't get a montage scene with inspiring music. We just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yes, I love that. Um, I'm really stuck on that, one true thing. I keep coming back to that. So, if you were to leave every person listening with just one truth about storytelling and survival, what do you think that would be?
Your story is proof you're still here. Tell it before someone else tries to rewrite it for you.
Yeah.
It's yours. Own it, shape it, and hand it to the people who need it most.
Wow. Yeah, I always say, your story matters. And that's been my mantra for forever. Your story matters. It has value and meaning, and you never know who you're going to impact by sharing it. So I just love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for being here today, Wendy. I've truly just enjoyed the opportunity getting to connect with you and getting to know you a little better and hear some of your story. And absolutely, like I said earlier, I'm going to be taking some of these one liners that you dropped and I'm going to be applying them to my day to day life for sure. So, for people who are listening to us talk right now and feel very connected to you and want to connect with you in your work, how can they support you and where can they find you?
You can find me on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all under Chronically Humored. Substack is the same name. I write essays there. And my only rule, come as you are, grab snacks, and you are welcome here.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I truly appreciate your time. And to my audience, love one another, and we will see you next week. And remember, your story matters, it has meaning, it has value. Go out and share it. Have a great day, everyone.